It was a regular sunny day at the station. A few cases of theft and vandalism from stupid kids in the morning. But what can you do? Kids will be kids, you know. It was just a regular day, lazing on my old and expired desk chair, floating around on the wheels to gather papers and then drink some coffee. That day though, proved to be anything but normal. It began with the siren. Now we do have a hospital nearby, so hearing a siren was nothing too special. But what was something noteworthy was the siren of police car following the ambulance. From my view of the front, I saw them both rush through the road in record speed. Blink, and they were gone. Now that was definitely weird, but soon the sleepiness struck. Taking a sip and allowing the caffeine into the system, I forgot about the incident and continued shuffling papers. It wasn't until later that I got any info on what was going on. Jack was a cheerful lad, new to the force, was a guy you'd go to if you needed a smile. It was something about his smile, demeanour and of course his humour. Today though, it was anything but that. Trying to talk to him, he shot me down quickly enough. No smile and a haunted look in his eyes. No emotion at all. He dropped off a box to be archived and quickly left, not even turning when I asked what the stuff was. Now that was really strange. Jack, for the few months I had known him, was never like that, shaking it off as something spooking him. I picked up the box and went aside to the storage rooms. On the way, something caught my eye. Inside the box, an aged and decrepit book. Now I knew my responsibilities. Get what was given and then archive it away in its correct section as evidence for whatever may occur in the future. But the book was right there, something, drawing it to me. If I peeked just a little, it wouldn't hurt, would it? Putting the rest of the stuff away, old and dirty clothes, a brand new chess set, some glass shards and a family picture. I picked up the book, opening it to the first page. Nothing. That was odd. Flipping through there, was there anything? Apart from dirt and old water stains. That was, until I reached the last page. Disclosed below is what I found. The youth lay in the inky depths of a quotidian night, staring at the grey, peeling paint of his ceiling. Seconds ticked by, a chaotic jumble in his head. Eyes aflutter, the midnight darkness had done little to lull Malum to sleep. Surrounding him, a dim room, sparsely populated, the moonlit clock, the familial pictures, the glowing mirror, and the brass chess set he had received just days prior. Malum, troubled by his constant insomnia, peered at his ever so steady mahogany clock to his side, watching as it transitioned to 23:56. There was a ruffling in his periphery, soliciting his sleepless eyes to the dull, moonlit visage in his mirror, then to a picture on his wall. As he stared at the framed photo, a photo of a time long lost, a wave of longing overcame him. The pain seethed powerfully in his stomach, yet he forced his eyes back to the clock. 23:57. Prompted by the sound of dissent, he glanced briefly to the many pieces that had fallen from the board, brass bodies scattered on the floor. He heaved a sigh of pain, a sigh of longing, a sigh for a time delicately suspended in the crystalline depths of a long-lost past. He heaved his sigh and forced himself to his feet, his body aching with each movement. He truly wanted to remain in the comfort of the sheets, remain in this comfort in some vague hope it'll dull the pain, yet he knew it wouldn't. Taking careful steps across the creaky wooden floors, he walked to the fallen chessboard. He stopped reluctantly where the pieces lay scattered and kneeled. Picking up the black queen, he rolled her delicately between his fingers, the cold brass kissing his warm hands.
You know you failed.
His fingers stopped, a glint of fear filling his bloodshot eyes as he gazed at the clock. His heartbeat quickened. 23:58. There was no one else in his room. He must be imagining things. The voice was still resonating in his ears. He looked down, his vision fixated on the lifeless queen, grasped in his palms.
She'll never like you.
He dropped her and fell back, scrambling across the floor until his back slammed into the cold mahogany wood of his bedside. He stared helplessly at the shadow of the scattered set as it slowly oozed across the floorboards towards him. They left a dull trail of death and decay in their wake. He whimpered as that familiar feeling overcame him. He stared, desperation filling him, at the clock. He refused to let his focus break, not even for a second, for the jewel hands of the clock before him. 23:59. As it reached his feet, its shrill voice broke through the night, assaulting him over and over again. A stabbing sensation gripped his arms and legs as he kept the pressure of the bedside at his back, hoping maybe that he would fall all the way through the wall.
Don't do that, you idiot. You'll embarrass yourself. Your friends are right about you. You know, you are an annoying waste. You are fat, ugly, and disgusting.
Constant assault, constant stream of insults and half-truths, beating him around the head until his ears began to ring. As tears streamed down his face, pulled his legs against his body, tightly gripped them as if holding him to the edge of his life. Midnight. He opened his eyes. The warm tears trailing down his face were no longer. His body, curled up and quivering, was no longer against the wall. and the chess set had vanished. He looked at his timepiece. 2 bloody figures continued to taunt him. 23:56. He sighed deeply. He would never find sleep. Standing up from the torn bedsheets, he stepped on a damp, rotten floorboard below him, forcing himself once again onto his feet. He walked across the room to the mirror. Looking into it, he saw himself, gaunt and hollow, black rings around his eyes, a constant reminder of his insomnia. A dull shine against the mirror's edge revealed years of cracks. He palmed his hand against the cold glass, looking down at the decaying, splintered boards, the clock behind him striking 23:57. "What's wrong with me?" His raspy voice echoed around the silent dining room.
There's nothing wrong with us.
Time seemed to stop. He grasped for air as if he had been punched. Blood thumped in his ears as the words,
"There's nothing wrong with us,"
resonated over and over again. He moved his head slowly, fearfully gazing into the reflection before him. There he was, the same weary eyes, the same tousled hair, the same ripped shirt. His lips, however, were not of the same familiar manner. They were twisted maniacally into the grin of a lost mind. The timepiece continued to tick by. 23:58. "Who are you?" Malum uttered nervously, not quite meeting the eyes of his reflection, or more accurately, its eyes.
"I am you. You are me. We are us. And there is nothing wrong with us,"
stated the double, confidence and charisma oozing out of him. That horrific smile, wide and threatening, like the shark, showed rotting dark gums and multiple rows of glistening white teeth. Malum, his fear now giving way to curiosity, palmed the glass again, watching the reflection move his hands with him, the feeling of cold glass transforming to the warm touch of a friend. "But they say so much about me. They call me fat, annoying, and they make fun of my scars. I'm worthless. I have no friends." His voice broke as he mumbled everything in his mind. "You are so confident and charismatic, whilst I'm so shy and anxious. How could you be me?" The ticking behind him telling him it was 23:59. He felt the agony fall down his tear-stained cheeks as his reflection approached him.
"You're right. You are worthless."
The tears stopped as if a well had dried up, shock enveloping him as he looked up at his reflection. How much closer, eyes flashing, jaw wide and twisted.
"Wouldn't it be so much better if you were gone and I replaced you?"
His reflection taunted, his voice becoming darker. Malum backed away from the mirror, the fear coming back, twisting his intestines to a pulp.
"Because I am better than you could ever be."
The figure stated with finality as he launched himself through the mirror, his long and sharp fangs baring themselves. Malum's eyes widened in fear as time seemed to slow. Resigning himself to his fate, he closed his eyes. Midnight. He waited for the attack, but after one breath, 2 breaths, he opened his eyes. Rubbing the mucus from his eyes, he realized he was back in the bed. Around him, the room was in a mess. The walls crumbling with strange slimy pustules, his bed sheets ripped and worn as the hard mattress oozed out rotting cloth, his eyes completely dazed, his body uncharacteristically reflexed as he glanced to the timepiece, melted and deformed, the 2 bloody and broken fingers showing 23:56. The dulling mirror's absence did not seem to worry him. Shifting his legs to the side of his bed, he stepped on the softened and moist floorboards, listening as it creaked ominously, as if too much weight would crumble and cause him and the room to collapse. Making his slow and careful advance through his room, his eyes still blank of emotion, he moved to the one item that meant something to him, the picture. Picking it up from the destroyed desk, the rotting smell of the frame hit his nostrils, but he did not care. He forced his eyes to focus on the image, his family, his father, his mother, his friends, all of them staring at him, and there he was, in the centre, looking back. Bliss in his eyes and an elated smile. He tried to smile at the memory now, but all he could manage was a grimace. He stayed like that for minutes.